Hi, I'm Chuck Myron,
And I'm his wife, Taryn Myron.
and we're married to
Married to
Saturdays.
Saturdays. Welcome back.
Yeah, so it was a wild quarterfinal round,
It
at least
was.
the last game of it,
Yes. And the
Mississippi
first game.
Georgia, and the first game. The middle two games were a couple of blowouts,
Yes.
two games to come in the semifinal round that should be pretty good, I would hope.
I agree. We've got two great games Miami versus Mississippi on Thursday, and then Indiana versus Oregon on Friday.
Well, you know, Miami had the biggest upset, I think, of the quarterfinal
I
round. But you
agree.
could argue maybe Mississippi was an upset over Georgia. But I think that Miami is perhaps the surprise team of the semis.
Absolutely. Nobody expected Miami to get this far. And remember, there was a lot of talk that Miami shouldn't even be in the playoffs. So for them to get to the semis, they're looking really good right now. They're playing really well. They're playing like the Miami team who was ranked as high as number two earlier this season.
It's a vindication of Miami,
Yes.
probably a vindication of the ACC, which didn't get its champion in.
That's right.
And there's something of a vindication tour. Although Mississippi, without Lane Kiffin, is kind of vindicating their ability to perform without, I guess, the most sought after coach in college football.
That's correct. And they also got vindication by the win over Georgia, which was the only team they lost to in the regular season.
Well, it's Miami and Mississippi, the battle of UMs
Yes.
in the semis, and a lot of people like to talk about Miami's pass rushers, Reuben Bain.
Yes.
And that bunch. It's a fearsome looking defensive line. But when you look at how does Miami actually rank out in the stats?
Yes.
They give up more passing yards per game than any other team left in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They're 44th overall. So with Bain and Akeem Mesidor and Keontae Scott, they're still giving up that many yards, which tells me that is kind of a home run style defense. They're not giving the quarterback. If you can manage to escape that rush, you have an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And with a guy like Trinidad Chambliss running around,
yes.
And perhaps being able to use his legs and escapability to get away from that rush,
yes.
maybe he will have an ability to exploit the weakness of Miami's defense.
Perhaps. But remember, Miami's defense is still overall one of the best in the country. They were number 4 in the FBS.
Well, exactly, and so they will stop you from rushing the ball. Mm-hmm. When you look at opponent rushing yards per game, they're also number 4 overall, right behind Indiana.
Yes.
So I think Mississippi is going to be in a lot of known passing situations, but Mississippi likes to pass the ball.
They do.
They are the number 4 passing team in the country in terms of yards. Okay. They are more given to the pass than I think anyone Miami has seen so far. So I think that that could play a couple different ways. It is incumbent on those rushers. I think the Miami's pass rush is going to have one of its best games in order to contain that Mississippi offense.
Correct.
With Trinidad Chambliss that looked so impressive, especially in the second half against Georgia.
Correct. But let's not forget about Miami's offense. You've got Carson Beck, and you've got Malachi Toney, who's an amazing wide receiver. They've just been a great duo all year long.
Well, scoring offense though for Miami. Now we're in the semifinals, right?
Yes.
So you have to bring your A game.
Right.
They're 26 in the country. That's 4th best out of the semifinal teams. So they are the worst offense still left in the semifinals.
Right. But you think about this game too. It's really a strength versus strength matchup is what I think. You got the strength of Mississippi's offense versus the strength of Miami's defense. Miami has given up 30 points in a game since October. And then Mississippi hasn't scored less than 30 points in a game also since the middle of October.
Yeah, I think it's going to be, ultimately, the chess match is in can Trinidad Chambliss and can Charlie Weiss is the offensive
Yes.
coordinator, who's going to be allowed to coach in this game.
Yes.
Also a story. Uh, uh, get away from that pass rush.
Exactly.
So, but on the other side of the ball, like I said, Miami's offense, okay, the worst in the playoffs
Right.
left.
Right.
And then Mississippi's defense, well, they are the worst in the playoffs that is left. So, you have kind of weakness against weakness
Right.
on the other side of the ball.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. I think it's very even. Really excited to see this game. And just an interesting Fiesta Bowl stat that I found. This will be Mississippi's first trip to the Fiesta Bowl ever.
Okay.
And Miami is 0-4 in the Fiesta Bowl. Their last loss coming in 2002 to Ohio State for the national championship in the Fiesta Bowl.
I remember this might have been their first Fiesta Bowl game after 1986 when Vinny Testaverde and all the Canes dressed in that camouflage to go and then lose to Penn State.
Right.
They were heavy favorites.
They
that
were.
was the Jimmy Johnson dynastic in Miami era.
Yes.
And they fell flat. So, will we see a history repeat? Who knows? We'll see. But
one thing that would be really interesting for Miami if they do win this game is then they go play in the national championship, which would be a home game for them.
Right. Which is a heck of a motivation right there to then be able to come back to South Florida.
Correct.
And play essentially a home game. And Miami historically has played a lot of home games in the national championship.
That's right.
Of course, they won their first national championship at home back in '83.
That's right.
A lot of history coming into this one, and the chance, I think, to make some history.
For both teams.
Right. And I think this is the kind of game that should be an exciting game because the big plays are going to make the difference, right? If we think about, Chambliss, can he get away from that defense? Can the Miami defense make a big play to turn that game like they did against Ohio State with the pick six?
Yes.
So an opportunistic defense, a really high-powered offense should be fun when Mississippi has the ball.
I agree.
All right, so the other semifinal, of course, Indiana, which looked like world beaters in the Rose Bowl, going up against the other Big Ten team in the playoffs, left in the playoffs, so that's Oregon.
Right. So we know that a Big Ten team will compete for the national championship.
Again, for the third straight year.
Correct.
Perhaps winning it for a third straight year. But,
correct.
So, it was so impressive to watch Indiana put on really a clinic. It was a clinical performance against Alabama with, just the precision blocking. It was so much fun, kind of as an old school football fan, to watch that. And of course, that's borne out, when you have an offensive lineman,
right?
get to be the MVP of the Rose Bowl.
That's right.
I think, when I look at Indiana and I look at everything they've done, remember, not only are they the best scoring offense left in the playoffs and number 4, they also have the best scoring defense.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, that's just an awesome team that is just so well coached. And what Kirk Cignetti has done there, of course, is the stuff of legend.
Yes, it's nothing short of amazing. But you got to remember, Alabama is a brand. Indiana went out and crushed Alabama, really, in the quarterfinals. But you have to remember, not only did Indiana shut Alabama down, but Oklahoma did that to Alabama in the first half. Now, granted, Alabama came back in the first round and they won. But I don't know that was the biggest test for Indiana yet. Oregon will be a much bigger test.
Well, they've already played Oregon.
Yes.
They've beaten Oregon.
They have.
And at Oregon.
Yes.
So, here we have another rematch, right?
Yes.
We've had at least one rematch in every round of the playoffs.
That's correct.
So, of course, this will be the last rematch, and then the other teams have played each other yet. But I think, look, Oregon has the ability. I think has the coaching to pull an upset.
Yes.
If they can do it. I think they have in Dante Moore, a good quarterback, a leader who's able to do it. And on the other side, you've got Tatum Tuioti,
Right.
you've got Brandon Finney, you've got certainly a lot of talent there.
Right.
These are guys, remember, who were supposed to be better than the guys on the other side of the ball. And I think
Yes.
the difference is it comes down to coaching, and Dan Lanning is no slouch.
No, he's not. And neither is Kurt Signetti. The only concern I have with the coaching side of Oregon, yes, Dan Lanning is great. He's been in this situation before, which I'll get to in a second. But he's also got two coordinators that are leaving for head coaching jobs. You have Will Stein going to Kentucky, and you have the other coordinator going to be the new head coach at Cal.
Yeah.
So you've got kind of that. So they're preparing for this game, but they're also in the portal for their new schools. So that could be a distraction for Oregon. However, like you said, this is Dan Lanning. He's a great coach. And remember a couple of years ago, he had the same problem with Washington. They lost to Washington twice. Washington played for the national championship. Will the same thing happen this year with Indiana? He's lost once. Will he get his revenge? How much motivation does Dan Lanning have?
Well, I think that when you think about coordinators leave, that's just one of the realities of postseason football.
Of course.
Whether it's in college, whether or in the NFL, where you have the other teams that finish their season early want to go out and get a head coach.
Correct.
They're going to try and pick from the teams that are winning. But I think, look, you've seen Dan Lanning excel in big spots before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He did. He pulled off what we thought was going to be a big win against Penn State, and
right.
But it kind of sent Penn State into a tailspin.
Yes, that sure did.
Winning in overtime at Penn State is an important game. Go back last year, they beat Ohio State.
They did.
Okay, then the eventual national champions. Of course, then they turned around the second time. Talk about the second time that Dan Lanning faces a team. They were beaten in the Rose Bowl.
Correct.
But Dan Lanning coach teams have shown an ability to win the big game. It's not as if he always winds up on the losing side.
That's right.
The problem is, I think he's just up against a guy who always seems to wind up on the winning side, and that's Kurt Signetti. And so I think that ultimately, the way that Indiana plays with such discipline and precision, and you saw that on display in the Rose Bowl. I think that's going to be the difference, because if you talk about focus, right, and you talk about execution, Indiana has it. Right. And the players who weren't as successful elsewhere, talk about Fernando Mendoza.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Are coming in and just looking like savants.
Yes.
When they line up for Signetti.
Exactly. Because he did come from Cal.
Right.
Fernando Mendoza.
Yes. Cal, which lost to Florida State.
Which was one of only two of Florida State's wins last season. Right.
Like Florida State beat a Fernando Mendoza team last year. Okay. And this year, Fernando Mendoza and Indiana have beaten
everybody.
So, look, like I said, Indiana is number one on offense. They're number one on defense. They are, however, the lowest rated team in terms of passing the ball. Now, that's, I think, in large measure because they've been in a lot of blowout games and they don't need to pass it. But they are number 56, in passing yards. However, they're number 11 and number 1 left in the playoffs in rushing yards. So, can Oregon put Indiana into known passing situations, force Mendoza to be, to be a Superman,
right?
A Heisman-winning quarterback,
like he was at the end of the Penn State game,
right? I mean, he showed that he can do it, but not just one drive,
right?
But over the course of the game. Can Oregon stop Indiana's running game? Okay,
right.
And you look at Oregon's rushing defense. It's 22nd. Not stellar,
right?
But if Oregon can stop the ability of Indiana to run the football, can play disciplined football too,
Yes.
can get into those gaps and just stop that, Indiana from ripping off 5 yards on first down
That's
like they
right.
so often did
Yes.
against Alabama.
Yes.
I think that could be a key to the game. That could be
Mhm.
one way that Oregon could turn this in their favor.
Correct. Correct. It's going to be a great matchup. And to be honest with you, I think, um, if anybody could beat Indiana, I think the only team left that could do it is Oregon.
Well, we'll see. Yeah,
Yes.
I think that we talk about the playoff format, right?
Yes.
Well, it's interesting. In the NFL, they'll reseed,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that doesn't happen in college football.
No.
So you have the two highest
Mhm.
highest seeded teams left.
Yes.
They're playing each other
in the semifinals. Right.
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 So whether that is the way it should be or not, that's the way it is. So
Mhm.
yeah, Indiana is going to have to be prepared, but
Yes.
you would expect nothing less.
And, Kurt Signetti and his staff will have that team prepared. Unlike Oregon, Indiana's coordinators are not leaving for head coaching jobs. So they have the focus on just preparing the team for a semifinal matchup. And yes, they are also hitting the transfer portal, of course. But again, their coordinators are able to more focus on preparing the team for this game.
Well, speaking of the transfer portal, there's a lot going on.
Oh, yes.
Now. Yeah.
We are in the transfer portal window.
Pretty chaotic right now.
Yes.
We've got Damon Williams at Washington.
Yes.
Who has a signed contract with Washington, the quarterback there, but is looking to go elsewhere.
Right.
And that is going to be a very interesting situation.
Mm-hmm.
You also have, of course, for Tennessee and Florida State. Tennessee is losing Jackson Ross.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like in the portal on defense. So I think we're likely to see an entirely new look on defense, which probably is not a bad thing for
Since
Tennessee
you have a new defensive
next
coordinator
year.
now.
You hate to lose that kind of talent.
Sure.
But when you change coordinators, this is the kind of thing that happens. Now, on the other side, well, it sounds like they might be looking at Sam Levitt
Yes.
from Arizona State, a quarterback with playoff experience.
What a great pickup that would be for Tennessee.
Well, it really makes it interesting because remember, Tennessee's got a 5-star freshman coming in and Faison Brandon. They also have the highly recruited George McIntyre sitting there who was on the bench this past season.
Right.
So, do you want to bring in a transfer quarterback who's going to maybe make it harder for you to recruit? If I'm coming in as a recruit, I know I'm just going to get recruited over by a transfer coming in.
Correct.
I might not want to go there. But then again, we might be in now moving into an era of college football where you don't always play as a freshman or a sophomore.
Right.
You have to sit and wait like it was many years ago. And the seniors will just find their way to your team through the transfer portal.
Exactly.
So that could be a lot of things to shake out.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot going on. Florida State's already it's kind of a mess. What can we say about Florida State? They're kind of a mess. Over 20 players have left Florida State to go into the transfer portal, including, of course, backup quarterback Brock Glenn, who played in the ACC Championship in 2023 and in the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl with that blowout loss to Georgia. That's probably one of the most notable ones. The Desir twins are entering the transfer portal. Very sad to lose them. They were big defensive stars. Earl Little, for example, on defense has declared for the draft. But we have some new players coming in, most notably the quarterback from Auburn, Ashton Daniels. So we'll see how that goes. Will he compete with Kevin Sperry, who is the only quarterback in the room right now for Florida State? And then also we have the running back from Texas, transfer Trey Wisner.
Well, interesting that you bring up the Auburn situation because now that is driven by Alex Gillette, former Josh Heupel assistant, going to USF,
correct,
then performing well, getting the job at Auburn, bringing his quarterback from USF up to Auburn,
Byron Brown,
and then Daniels winds up maybe going to Florida State. So
Correct.
everything is connected
Yes.
in college football.
That's
right.
right. That's right. So it's an exciting transfer portal season and an exciting semifinals and playoff season. And I'm sure we'll have more on the transfer portal very soon.
Yeah, and well, we'll be looking ahead to the championship game next time. So we'll enjoy the semifinals. And yeah, if you like what you're seeing, hit subscribe.
Hit the subscribe
We're
button.
not going away in the off season.
Nope.
We won't probably do this quite as frequently, but we will update on transfer portal, on spring practice, all of the things that could happen, say
Yes.
on the eve of your spring game when your quarterback might decide to go elsewhere. Well, we'll be
As this
here.
happened,
Yeah.
with Nico.
Yes, we'll be here for that sort of thing. So
We will. And any big changes to, postseason or college football rankings or selections, we'll be here for that too.
And that's why it's important to subscribe. That way you don't have to come and look and see, oh, did they, drop one today or this week or whatever. No, just subscribe. You'll know
Hit the subscribe button.
when it's coming.
That's right.
Because it'll be right there.
That's right.
So when we're there next time, we'll see you then.